Today's episode is brought to you by Mazars.
SoundCartel.
From SoundCartel, I'm Nicole Goodman, and this is Business Essentials Daily. ESG, or environment, social and governance considerations, have been evolving in big business for years now, with many touting their ethical and management practices. But did you know it'll soon start affecting small businesses as well? According to Nalder, CEO of the Small Business Association of Australia, a whole new world of paperwork pain is about to descend upon us. Anne explains the scale of the problem to Jeff Waters.
The biggest challenge facing small businesses, and that's not in the near future, it's almost upon us, is ESG. That stands for environment, social and governance obligations. At the moment, ESG is for the big corporations, but it is going to include small businesses in the very near future. I was recently at a meeting in Canberra where this was discussed, and there's some alarming factors. Now, whilst ESG itself is a good thing, because it means good modern business practices for now and the future, that include looking after your environment and a whole range of other issues. It is the reporting and the compliance that will be required, which will be a killer. Now, most small businesses are not even aware of this because I don't think it's going to relate to them. But it will, because if you supply or do business with a large corporation, it is very highly likely you'll have to be ESG compliant. Or if you want to export in your own rights, you will most likely, depending on what it is, have to be ESG compliant. Now, ESG regulations are being introduced globally. So it's not a thing that if, say, Australia decides it doesn't want to be part of it, it doesn't have a choice because it's all about trade. The reporting mechanism is going to be cumbersome and very, very time-consuming and expensive. And that's where it will have a serious effect on small businesses. We don't know what the regulation's going to look like. And this is where the tricky part is. Governments, for example, even around the world, may say that small businesses up to, say, hypothetically, up to 20 employees are exempt. However, if you're going to trade with a large corporation and provide them with things, you'll still have to do your reporting, most likely, to the large corporation. And this is where it becomes very tricky because, on the one hand, many small business owners will say, well, I don't have to be part of it. But yet they do if they want to get contracts and trade. Some are already doing this at the moment, but that's only a minority. And as I said, even for large corporations, they have to put on full-time employees to service the reporting requirements. So we're working on a program that we will be announcing and releasing very soon that will assist small business owners to comply. And even if you didn't have to report and you are exempt from all of this, I would still recommend to small business owners to try and understand what ESG is and become a better small business owner as far as how you manage your business, your staff, and all those other obligations that are necessary in today's modern evolving world.
You mentioned that this might happen quite soon. Do you have any idea of a time frame?
No, I don't, but it's not in the next so many years or anything. It's around the corner. There are countries already around the world that are drafting their regulations. The EU, for example, it's going to basically put this big invisible border right around the EU countries. And if you're not ESG compliant, forget about it. But one of the things that I have heard is they may, for example, allow you still to trade, but the tax rate that you will pay could be very, very huge, which means it's going to be unviable to do. I mean, nobody's going to buy from you if your prices are way through the roof. So, and it's happening in Asia, the UK, the USA, it's happening globally and it's happening very fast.
Describe for us the situation in Australia then.
Well, that's going between department to department at the moment as you and I speak. So I don't have a time frame, but I do know that it will be fairly quickly. So it's not going to be, as I said, years and years down the track, because sometimes we get so many years warning, but it will be very fast and furious. And so therefore, small business owners need to be prepared and to educate themselves as to what is required.
Wow, as it's happening internationally, I imagine the government doesn't have much of a choice.
No, they don't, because ESG, it was started by the UN originally, and it is being pushed by large financial corporations. So that is being done. So governments then have to obviously bring in something to put a bit of law and order into the whole thing. But one of the things with small business is it's a very, very changing world, and very rapidly. It's difficult. It's challenging. Even us ordinary everyday people, you can't keep up with the changes. So for a small business owner, it's more than just a challenge. But if they don't do it, it's going to be a bad thing for them, because they will miss out on contracts and so forth. Bearing in mind that trends around the world also are changing. So within the next so many years, you've got another generation of people who will be the shoppers, and they will buy things. And they're starting to look at businesses like, how do you treat your staff? How do you look after your planet? Do you believe in slavery? All these type of things. And I think it's better to start sooner than later. And not only that, but they are good business practices.
Yes, indeed. But, Anne, this sounds like a complete nightmare for small businesses, a very large new layer of red tape.
It is, and we, as you know yourself, we are over-regulated. We've got too much red tape, and every compliance and regulation costs money to implement.
Yes.
Now, large corporations have got a margin. They can actually absorb a lot of this stuff. We can't. Small businesses can't. I mean, at the moment, they are struggling to survive. And I don't know if I may add to you, the ABS figures up until the 12 months, up until June 2023, they had almost 1,000 small businesses exiting every day, nearly 1,000 across Australia. That's a lot of small businesses. And the net gain between those starting up and those leaving was only 19,000. That's over a 12-month period and across all of Australia. And within 12 months, 2 years, that 19,000, probably about at least half of them will be gone. So you could probably say it's almost a net growth. And what's happening is, and governments are not talking about this because they, comes an election, they say all these new businesses that started up, but they don't tell anybody the ones that have gone out. And if we continue with this trend, and it's looking like it at the moment, it is going to impact very severely on the economy, not straight away, but in the next couple of years. So we've got to really get our head out of the sand, and governments have got to come up with good policies that will allow a small business to flourish and to grow and to compete in a global market.
So the listeners should stay tuned for the Small Business Association's response and your plan for how to help small business through all of this.
Well, what we do, we provide workshops. Some are physical, a lot of them are virtually. So you've got to tune in, contact us, tune into our website, all that sort of thing. And we also provide help to our members. And we've got great benefits and conditions, and we do help them in times of adversity as well. So it's in our interest to see a small business succeed, because small business is the economy. If you don't have small business, you don't have an economy, contrary to what others say. And you can find a small business owner in every part of Australia, in the most remote parts of Australia. They really are the backbone of this country, and they mustn't continue to be treated as a second-class citizen. They've got to be acknowledged for the things they do, like small business owners. They make things. They take risks. They run a small business. Some of the people, unfortunately, who make the rules, they don't do any of those things. So for them, they have no idea that they just bring in another regulation and think, oh, that's fantastic, just one more thing. But if they had to run a small business in difficult times, they had to put their own money down and risk their homes and their mortgages and everything else, I think you'd find they would think a little bit differently.
That was Anne Nalder, CEO of the Small Business Association of Australia. This episode of Business Essentials Daily is produced by the team at SoundCartel. Thanks for listening. I'm Nicole Goodman. We'll bring you more Be Daily tomorrow. Follow at BE Daily Podcast across social media and head to bedaily.com.au for more from the Business Essentials Daily podcast. SoundCartel. This episode was brought to you by Mazars. To find out more, visit mazars.com.au. That's mazars.com.au.